Hi, I'm Dan Lagani with Silver Solutions, and welcome to another episode of Age-Wise, the show where we try our best to make you smarter about all the things that you'll need to know as you and your loved ones grow older. Today, our topic is memory care communities, what they are, and what everybody with a family member diagnosed with some form of dementia needs to know. We sat down with our guest, Marcia Teele, a couple of weeks back. She's been at the Arden Court's memory care communities for over 2 decades, and we had a wide-ranging conversation about fundamentals like getting a proper diagnosis, to the different types of dementia that exist beyond Alzheimer's, and the most important questions that you need to ask as you consider memory care communities for any family member. So enjoy the conversation with our guest, Marcia Teele. We hope this makes your process a little better. Marcia Teele, thanks so much for joining us today on Age-Wise.
Thank you so much for being here, Dan. I appreciate it.
Marcia, what a critically important topic that we're about to cover. Let's start very basic in the most straightforward way. What is dementia, and what are the different forms that it can come in?
Well, Dan, I'm so glad that you asked me that, because people use the word dementia a lot of times interchangeably with some form of dementia, like Alzheimer's disease or vascular disease or Parkinson's disease. But dementia is the set of symptoms, including memory loss. Dementia is the umbrella term for the signs and symptoms of memory loss and all that goes with it. And under that umbrella, there are different, so to speak, handles. Now, Alzheimer's disease is the most prevalent type of dementia, so it has the largest handle. But there are lots of other handles under that umbrella of dementia.
Marcia, I've heard different numbers, and certainly as lifespans continue to increase in the U.S., the percentage of the older population with some form of dementia or memory impairment continues to grow. But I've heard a number that could be as high as 30% of everyone over the age of 80 has some form of dementia. Is there is the number that high? What do you know and see from your end of the world?
Well, the scary part is, according to the Alzheimer's Association, someone in the United States every 65 seconds gets Alzheimer's disease. As a matter of fact, it is growing exponentially as the baby boomers age. And so we're seeing more and more people all the time getting diagnosed with dementia, or people that have it that have not been even diagnosed yet. Obviously, as the baby boomers age, and that's the greatest segment of the population right now, there's going to be more and more cases of dementia showing up.
You know, what's clear is getting a proper diagnosis obviously matters greatly in terms of even understanding which variation a loved one may have of dementia. But what's the process that you could tell everybody that they should be going through in order to get the proper diagnosis? Is there a sequence of things that everybody should be aware of?
Absolutely. That's a great question, because people aren't aware, especially if you're living with a spouse and you've been married for so many years. Sometimes you don't actually see the changes. And if you do see the changes, sometimes it's just attributed to getting older. I suggest to caregivers, start keeping a little journal of little things that you might notice, whether you're an adult child or a spouse or some other caregiver. Caregivers are the best ones to be able to see this, because they're with that person most of the time. And so keep a little journal, so the next time you go to your primary care physician, you can sort of start noting that these are little changes, and then you start having a history. And as time goes on, these changes are going to either increase or decrease, and you can start looking at why there might be these changes in somebody and looking for the causes. Now,
well, I want to ask you one question, though, about this idea of noticing changes, because there's clearly a pretty widespread instance in the general population. As you get older, you start to grasp for words. Sometimes your vocabulary is harder to come by. And I guess that goes to the point of, how do you know what's quote unquote normal aging versus there's something more fundamentally debilitating going on with your ability to recall and to handle memory related issues.
Now, it's true that as we age, our brain slows down. That's kind of a normal slowing down process. So it takes sometimes a little bit longer for our brain to retrieve that information from the memory bank. But I always say that if you forget something, eventually, if you remember it, you're okay.
What is the moment where you start to see signs that suggest someone should not be living independently anymore? What are the key things that anybody that has a loved one that may have been diagnosed with dementia should be looking for to make that determination? Can mom or dad or my husband or wife really remain independent and in the current home that they're in? What should we be looking for?
So if someone's living independently, it's a little more scary because no one's there all the time to check on them. And so you need to be more vigilant with that person, make sure that they're eating, make sure that their refrigerator has food, make sure the food is not spoiled, make sure that they can handle their finances. A lot of the first things to go with Alzheimer's disease is executive function, where people can't balance their checkbook. You'll see signs like they're, paying bills twice or not paying their bills at all. These are easier things to see if you're checking on someone. So clearly that person is not able to take care of themselves. That would be a sign that they either need a full-time caregiver or perhaps go into a memory care community where they can have quality of life, be safe, have all these things done for them. If you're living with someone and you're the primary caregiver, a lot of times then the person can stay longer at home because they have that support system.
Is all memory care created equal, or are there a specific set of basics that exist everywhere, and then you can look for other services and resources to help make that experience better for a family member?
You want to look at a community specifically designed for memory care, and it's not all created equal. There's so many options out there. People really need to do their homework. They need to have a list of questions. They need to know what to ask. They need to know what to look for when they're evaluating a memory care community.
So what are some of the questions that are must-haves? Anybody that's going through and trying to decide what's the right place for my family member, what are the top 3 questions that everybody should ask wherever they're considering to go?
Well, top 3, there's so many questions. First of all, you want to visit, right? You don't want to just call on the phone. You want to be there in person because you want to see with your eyes. You want to smell with your nose. You want to talk with your mouth to the family members, other caregivers. So visiting is the first thing that you want to do. And you want to get all your questions asked. And if it takes more than one visit, then it takes more than one visit. When you're there and you're looking and seeing and evaluating, you also want to ask about the services, of course, but you want to ask about the staff and the other residents. That's very, very important because you want to, first of all, look at those residents. How are they groomed? Are they smiling? Are they happy? Are they engaged? What are they doing? Are they engaged with staff? Are they engaged with each other? Because when you go to a memory care, the idea is for this to be a way of life, not just a place to exist, right? We're not wanting someone just to put them away. We want them to be happy. We want them to engage, have fun, socialize, be stimulated.
Let's talk about cost. And I know it varies by region, by state, by where someone is living. Does insurance cover the cost of memory care? And if not entirely, what should family members be doing to help save and or prepare in advance for the cost of memory care?
Another good aspect of when you're planning for memory care for someone is the price and also the legal aspect. So going to an elder law attorney, get all your papers in order, but also an elder law attorney can help you navigate going into it with how to pay for it. Now, typically, assisted living is all private pay, out of pocket, which means that Medicare does not pay for any of the costs to live in assisted living. However, Medicare does have a piece of that, in meaning that the doctors that come into the assisted living to see the patient or see the resident, primary care, maybe a podiatrist or a neurologist, something like that, they bill Medicare for that. So the Medicare comes in just for the doctors, but not for the assisted living. Private pay out of pocket. And if someone were to be fortunate enough to have planned ahead to get long-term care insurance, that can also be a way to pay for assisted living. And long-term care insurance, again, that's a whole nother topic, but you want to make sure that if you're looking for it, you want to get a comprehensive plan, because some long-term care insurance only covers nursing homes. Some only cover home health, which means that you can only get help to pay for help in the home.
Marcia, you have another side of your life, and that is your radio program and now video program. Talk a little bit about that before we go.
Oh, thank you, Dan. Well, Caregiver Solutions Info Show started 7 years ago as an educational platform to educate caregivers, other professionals about caregiving and about dementia. So every week, every Tuesday, 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time, I kind of say I'm the Katie Couric of caregiving, because I interview people just as you do to educate the public on all things about caregiving, all things that may be related to what caregivers need to know. Elder law attorneys, social workers, geriatric care managers, actual patients sometimes, people that are suffering from dementia, and also their caregivers. Because there's no better way to learn about caregiving than to learn from someone who has already walked in your shoes. And so this is a great platform for people. They can watch it every Tuesday online. The website is caregiversolutions.info. It's also on the iHeartRadio app under WNN every Tuesday, 6 to 7 p.m.
Marcia Teele with Arden Court Memory Care Communities. Thanks so much for being our guest. Great advice throughout the conversation. And if you want to hear more from Marcia, again, you can check in on her program, Caregiver Solutions, which is available on iHeartRadio. Thanks so much for being our guest and helping to make us a little smarter about all the things that we need to know as our loved ones get older. If you like this episode of AgeWise, please share it with a friend. And if you want to find other episodes of AgeWise, you can visit us at silversolutions.com or subscribe to AgeWise through Apple Podcast. For all of us here that work hard every day to make certain that your loved ones are living better longer, I'm Dan Lagani with Silver Solutions. Thanks so much for joining us. Stay safe and be wise.